Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the Weekend Show. With less than 2 weeks to the 2023 presidential elections, different parties have been going around the country, touring and also campaigning for their candidates. A major part which has interested me in this campaign cycle has been young Nigerians who have taken active leadership in campaigning and advocating for their candidates who they feel will be the best candidates in the 2023 elections. I guess we've moved on from being the leaders of tomorrow to now being the leaders of today, which is why young Nigerians have now taken things in their own hands. We saw how young Nigerians spoke for themselves during NSAS. We've seen how young Nigerians are coming online and also physically to say, this is who we want, this is what we want. How will all of this pan out? We'll be having that conversation about the 2023 elections and the role and the activities of the People's Democratic Party in this cycle and what are the chances for them. However, before we get to our studio guests, we will be having a quick chat with Alhaji Garba Musa Maidoki, who is the PDP senatorial candidate for Kebbi South, to hear about how it's going in Kebbi State and what his plans are in this election. So, Alhaji Garba Maidoki, good morning and welcome to the Weekend Show.
Next time.
Fine, thank you. Welcome to the Weekend Show. So you're running for Kebbi South Senatorial District. Now, when we talk about your state, the roads have been a major problem whenever people talk about infrastructure in Nigeria. And talking about Kebbi State, we understand that this is also still a problem till today. What are your intentions as you come to run? Because most times we have people who campaign in the state, but when they come to the National Assembly in Abuja, they forget about their people. Why are you running, and what do you plan to do for your people?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to present what we have for our people. We've gone around with some of your reporters and we've seen the state of infrastructural decay in our area. Look like Kebbi South has been completely forgotten from the rest of the country. This is area that mostly is agrarian in nature and that produce most of the food that we feed Kebbi, Sokoto, and even Niger Republic. But the roads leading to any part of Kebbi South is a horrible nightmare for you to travel. I give you an example of Koko Zuru Road. It's only 80 kilometers, but it takes you 3 hours minimum, whatever the quality of your car to reach there. Not minding the stress and the fatigue that accompany following those roads. If you go that road once, for the rest of the day, you will not be useful for yourself. So what we intend to do is we come up with innovative ideas, joining the federal and the state government together. These roads are federal roads, so we will insist that these roads be repaired by the federal government. In the event that the resources to rehabilitate these roads are not available, we will work with federal and state government to do a public-private partnership so that people can invest their money and rehabilitate the roads and put the toll gates for them to get their investment back. We have discussed with our governorship candidate. He's aware of these problems and he has promised our people here that he will liaise with the National Assembly and the federal government and the state government so that these roads can be rehabilitated, whether by the federal government themselves or the state government resources, which can be reimbursed later, or we go and get our own people that have resources and invest in our own area. If we are able to correct these roads, we will be able to ship our agricultural product to Lagos for export. We will be able to bring in goods from the port from Lagos. This road is the nerve center that bring whatever we need from the ports to the whole of Kebbi State, to the whole of Sokoto State, to the whole of Zamfara State. And because of the problem of this road, commerce has generally become very, very limited in this area. The roads, if you hire a truck to Kebbi State, Kebbi South now, it's more expensive than hiring a truck to go to any other part of this country. So this is number one priority for us, to fix these roads within the shortest possible time. Thank you very much.
Okay, Alhaji, moving on from roads, can you please share your plans to address the various security issues, security challenges that your state is currently and has been facing? What are your plans if you get elected?
Thank you very much, ma'am. This issue is number one priority for us. We know security is a federal government priority, but we have assured our people, and the governorship candidate of the People Democratic Party is a retired Major General of the Nigerian Army. He was a former GOC. So we believe when it comes to security, he has the competence to advise the president. We realize that the security personnel in this country are very limited. We might not be able to get the boots on the ground to dominate every space. But collaborating with the federal and state and local government and vigilante groups in our own area who knows the terrain very well, we believe this will give us the required manpower, and with the supervision of the security forces, the federal security forces, we believe this issue will be addressed. Our people are willing to give their support to federal government, and our governorship candidate for Kebbi State is willing to provide the necessary resources and motivation and planning so that our people can dominate the forest and the farmland. It's pathetic, the number of villages that have been ransacked, they have been displaced. And surprisingly, you will wish to note that up to now, the present government, governor, has not declared a single IDP in our area. We have more than 70 villages that have been ransacked and have been displaced. And these people, federal government is not aware. There is no IDP camp, no help whatsoever from the federal government has come to our people. Sadly, this rainy season, our people rely more on themselves because the president of the federal government, or any other government for that matter, is very limited. They rely on this, their farming, to be able to do their daily life. But unfortunately, for this rainy season, the farming has been completely destroyed. I'm not sure our people will be able to feed themselves this year so that they can see the next farming season. So our governorship candidate for the People Democratic Party has been aware. We have intimated him, and he has given us assurance that as soon as we win this election, NEMA will come and conduct a survey of our people, and whatever help that we need to feed our people, the federal government will be intimated, the state will be intimated, so that succor will come to our people before the next rainy season. If we are able to have security, our people will be able to feed themselves and feed northwestern Nigeria. We grow mostly cereal, rice, maize, guinea corn, millet. These are our primary things. And we grow all the vegetables we send to Lagos. Most of them, they perish on the road. Before you go to Lagos, within 24 hours, a truck will arrive in Lagos. But as I'm talking to you now, if you have a truck going to Lagos, it will take you 3 days. And most of this perishable will not take this long to get there. We have been devastated economically.
Okay, Alhaji, just because of time, I would have to come back to you. Yes, so Alhaji, just before we let you go, it's just a couple of weeks to the elections now, but final question for you. What are your plans for employment when it comes to the youth population in Kebbi State, and what are your chances of winning? Because your state for a while now has been controlled by the APC. So what are your chances of winning, and how do you plan to empower young people if you win? Last question. So, Alhaji, just before we let you go, there's a high number of unemployment in Nigeria and also in northern Nigeria. Now, your state has been largely controlled by the APC. What are your chances of winning, and what do you plan to do for the young people if you win? Now, not the governor, you, what will you do?
Niger flows to the sea. If you see the amount of agricultural land in this area, you will be amazed. But because of this insecurity, people are not able to farm. We intend to provide the necessary agricultural extension services. This is key to us. Agricultural inputs for our people, improve seeds. If we have pumping machines, dry season farming, we can farm 3 times, 4 times in a year. But security has to be guaranteed, and the resources and extension services that are required for our people to farm in the modern way.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alhaji.
Oil and gas.
Thank you very much, Alhaji. We have to come back to the studio to talk to our guest. Now, our guest in the studio is someone who I know has been an active supporter of the People's Democratic Party. So we've seen people switch from one side to another, but he has been very consistent in his support for the party, and it would be interesting to hear what the party plans for Nigerians, for young people, and their chances in the upcoming election. So joining us, we have a guest in the studio and someone virtually. So joining us,
in the studio we have Demola Olaruwaju, who is the SA Digital Media Strategy to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Edium. Good morning, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure. And online we have...
Yes, joining us via Zoom, we have Uloka Chukwubuike, who is the Deputy Director of Media and Publicity at Atiku Okowa Campaign for Anambra State. Welcome to the show.
Demola, let's start with you. Like I said, you've been an active supporter of the party, and you've also been a political activist. I've seen you, we've met on the streets at 1 or 2 protests and advocacy campaigns over the last almost 10 years now, and so you have been consistent. Why have you been so focused on the People's Democratic Party and your support for His Excellency Atiku Abubakar?
Thank you, Andy. For me, it's simple. Personally, I grew up in an area where I interacted with Igbo people. I interacted also with Hausas. In the compound where I was born, or where I spent most of my childhood, we had, it was owned by a Yoruba person, I mean, there in Lagos State, but we had about 6 neighbors who were Igbos. And then in the primary school I attended, was also a number of Hausa students also. So I grew up with that consciousness, you know, of seeing myself as a Nigerian, not seeing myself as inferior to any other ethnicity, but also not seeing myself as superior to any other ethnicity. And at the advent of democracy in 1999, you know, the PDP has always demonstrated that commitment to inclusive governance, where every ethnicity has a stake in the party. And so that is how it has been for me, and that was my first attraction to the People's Democratic Party. I saw that other parties, you know, were ethnically slanted. The APC, you know, you had it from its roots with the Alliance for Democracy, which was essentially a Yoruba party, and then the other arm of it, the All People's Party, that became the All Nigeria People's Party, and then split into CPC and AMPP. It was essentially an Hausa Fulani political party. And so you had that alliance between them, the Yoruba and the Hausa political parties basically became APC. And we've seen the result of that, basically. That's what is affecting their governance. You have people who, not just the fact that they are strange bedfellows ideologically, but also in the fact that you have people who are more committed to ethnic interests than to the national interest. So for me, it has been, the attraction with the PDP has always been that it is a party that puts national interest above ethnic interest. It's a party that believes that every Nigerian is a Nigerian and that no Nigerian can be more Nigerian than any other Nigerian.
So of the candidates running, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has tried running for president since 1993. Why do you think this is the time for him, and is he the right person for Nigeria? Because
Atiku Abubakar has been consistent in his political journey. In 1992, Atiku Abubakar actually ran to be governor of Adamawa State, but he and several other candidates at that time were disqualified by the military regime. He himself, Bala Takaya, Sule Lamido, Arthur Odunze, a number of people, from all across the country were disqualified from that race. The presidential candidates were also disqualified, including Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, who was Atiku Abubakar's mentor. And he said, look, you had been disqualified for governor, I've been disqualified for president. You come and run for president instead. And so that was how Atiku Abubakar came into the race. And he did very well. He came third in the primaries. But, the calculations at that time, it was MKO Abiola was at the top, King Gibe was second, and Atiku Abubakar was third. And they decided to go into negotiations with MKO Abiola, and Atiku Abubakar stepped down for MKO Abiola on the promise that he was going to become the vice president of MKO Abiola, but that did not happen. So his trajectory in politics has always been about conceding to others. Recall also in 2011, which is another time people will say he ran. In 2011, he lost the PDP primaries. It was a free and fair primaries. He stayed in the party and he worked within the party. So everything he has done, his commitment to the principles that he believes in, the fact that he has always supported others, the fact that he has always been consistent basically in his beliefs, those are the things that make us believe that this is the time. For me personally, I think that 2023 is the time for Nigeria to do things differently. Let's do things differently from what we've been doing before. What we've been doing before has always been voting for people that we believe will come to Abuja and change the whole of the federation. It's not going to happen. It's not the way Nigeria was designed to run. Andy, in the colonial days, Lord Lugard was the Governor General of Nigeria. But Lord Lugard put in place a system where the northern region had a governor, the southern region had a governor, and he was Governor General. The Lagos colony also had a governor. So Lord Lugard would spend 3 months in the north. He wasn't doing any work there. He was just there to oversee the governor there. He would spend 3 months in the south. He would spend 3 months in Lagos colony, and then he would fly to London, British Colonial Office, to spend 3 months on vacation with his mistress at that time. So he had enough time, and he was governing Nigeria. But he had enough time to spend 3 months in London. Why? Because Nigeria was not designed to be run from one place. Nigeria was designed to be run from different places. So what we've been doing since 1966 has been, we've been looking for messiahs. We've been looking for, one man will go to Abuja and change it. The Buhari experiment should have told us that it is not going to happen. Buhari is literally overwhelmed. I mean, I'm PDP. I've always been PDP. I opposed Buhari's emergence in 2015. But at that time, even I did not expect that he would fail as woefully as he has. The system has completely overwhelmed him. So if in 2023 we decide again to look for another messiah, which is what all other candidates are saying, that I will go to Abuja, I will fix Nigeria from Abuja, Atiku Abubakar is the only one who is saying restructuring. Devolve powers to the states. Let the states have more powers. Let the states have more responsibilities. When you do that, when you administer Nigeria in that fashion, I believe that that is the only way Nigeria can move forward. So for me, I think the time is right for that messaging. I think Nigerians understand that we need to restructure. And it's not surprising, that he's the only one who is openly campaigning about that, because he has been as consistent on that. Even as far back as 1992, when he ran for president at that time, he recognized the place of restructuring. He was the chairman of the subcommittee on devolution of powers at the 1995 confab under General Sani Abacha. So he is consistent on restructuring, and he is preaching restructuring. Other candidates are not making it their mantra. They are saying, I will fix Nigeria this way. Atiku Abubakar is saying, let's restructure Nigeria. So for me, I think his time has come.
I like that you've seen it and you're taking it from a very detribalized angle, which a lot of people are not seeing it from in this election. But we also have someone from the South is joining us virtually, who is also supporting the President Vice President Atiku Abubakar's campaign.
Hello, Uloka, can you hear us?
Yeah, very well, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Could you just let us know, how prepared is the PDP for the upcoming elections, and how prepared is Atiku Abubakar to rule Nigeria if elected?
Oh, okay, thank you. There is no doubt about the preparation of PDP on the forthcoming elections. All across Nigeria, looking at the campaign rallies that are coming to an end, which is started since INEC lifted the ban on campaigning. The rousing welcome he has been receiving across states is enough to tell you that the PDP as a political party is ready to rescue Nigeria, is ready to recover Nigeria, and is ready, to bring Nigeria out of the existential threat that we are currently facing now. Talking about Atiku Abubakar, the young man in the studio, I think, have highlighted a lot of things about this man, whose only hunger today in Nigeria is to see a nation that works, whose only priority is to bequeath a nation that is, that is okay to the growing generation. I think he is the most prepared presidential candidate of all the top three that are running in this election. The candidate of APC is not ready. They're still facing a lot of internal wrangling. That tells you that as an individual, he's not ready. As a political party, they are not ready. The other two political parties are more or less a regional party. Of all that, that is only Atiku Abubakar that has presented a people-oriented policy document that have continued to say how he intends to do things. He doesn't go around telling people what he intends to do. No. The politics that we are playing now is the politics of how we intend to do things. And these things are facts that are verifiable. He has demonstrated himself as a pan-Nigerian who wants things to go well for the country. And we trust him that he will definitely, in the first 100 days of office, he will start to at least bring those things to effect.
Honorable Eloka, especially from the southeastern part of Nigeria, one of the problems which we've experienced in recent elections have been low turnout in elections. See the results of the Anambra State elections, and now also the insecurity in the southeastern part of Nigeria. What are you and your team in that area doing to ensure that people come out en masse to actually vote on that day, beyond saying they support a candidate? What's being done to ensure people actually come out to vote on the election days?
Well, on our part, we can only do very little. We can only do very limited things. The issue in the Southeast has been of insecurity that overwhelmed us since the inception of the APC-led administration. I think the Southeast, after the Northeast, has been the most hit, in the APC-led administration. We've been faced with a lot of insecurity and all that. And insecurity has affected us. We in the Southeast, we are no longer sleeping with our two eyes closed. And this is also part of the reason why we are clamoring for a change of administration, a change of government. We've continued to urge the security agencies, we've continued to urge the APC government, although we know that they are incapacitated at the moment, they are incapable of solving the security problem. But still being the government in power, we'll still run to them to say, if they can allow us at least to, to participate in the election, to discharge our franchise in the election. Well, I think in the last couple of weeks, we will continue to urge people, community leaders, security, and the community level to see how they can be of assistance, to sensitize the people, give them hope that they will be protected in this election. We are not expecting anything much in the Southeast, and we are not doing more than, we have, like I said earlier, we have limitations on what we can do. We are not in charge of the security. The federal government is still in charge of the security. We are relying on what the state is able to offer us and what federal government will be able to put in place. But at the end of the day, we are urging that our people, against all odds, comes out en masse to at least elect governments that will protect our life and properties, that will ensure that Southeast returns to its place in Nigeria before the APC came to power.
So coming back to the studio, Demola, could you please share at least the top 3 policies of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar if he's elected? What are the top 3 policies?
Well, I've already spoken extensively about restructuring. I think I will talk more about Atiku Abubakar's his 3 core ideological beliefs. I should talk about the 5-point development agenda, which we has the acronym UNITY SEED: unity, security, economy, education, and devolution of powers. But his own ideology rests on 3 things basically: 1, private sector participation; 2, strong role of government as a regulator; and 3, devolution of powers. Now, Atiku Abubakar believes strongly that, look, if you devolve powers, a lot of things should be dealt with at the state level. Insecurity, for instance. And you see, as a young Nigerian, over the years, you can see that power is being devolved already. You see state governors saying that they want to set up their own brand of security. You see the northern governors, say, look, my people are being killed. I want to arm civilian JTF, in Borno State, in different states across the north. In the southeast, you see the governors saying, look, we want powers to be able to secure our people. So powers need to devolve to the constituent units so that, Nigeria will be able to move faster and so that Nigeria would grow in the manner that it's supposed to grow. I mean, I'm surprised when I listen to President Akande say that, I have this vision of industrialism everywhere, which is good, but that's coming from you as probably a Lagos boy. As a Lagos boy, I may say, oh, I want entertainment, nightlife to boom. But is that the ideal of somebody else coming from the eastern part of the country or someone coming from the northern part of the country? Why not let them grow at their own pace? Let everyone be in their corner of Nigeria, taking ownership of Nigeria from that corner, but also developing at their own pace and in line with their own vision. So it's that recognition of, the diversity of the peoples of Nigeria. That is why Atiku Abubakar is a firm believer in devolution of powers. His second core belief is private sector participation. And I think at no point in time is it more important than this time, where we know that the federal government is broke. Anybody coming into government will have to finance, will have to look for money, in order to be able to do anything at all for Nigeria. This year alone, for instance, the budget, we have about 4.3% deficit, which is higher than the threshold should be. We're talking about the ways and means earlier on, which the dimension the other guest brought in was one that not many of us had even envisaged, but I'm sure the economists have. So basically, the government is broke. You have to turn to the private sector and say, look, come and invest in these places. And when you do that, you must also have the third part of it, which is the third belief that government should have a strong regulatory role. In other words, if you're establishing universities, if you are partnering on anything, government should come in as to ensure that you are delivering on the promise to the people. So, for instance, under this APC, you find that the National Electricity Regulatory Commission that should ensure that power supply by the DISCOs that were privatized under PDP. The NEC was also what PDP established to ensure that you are doing what you are supposed to do for the people. There was a multi-year tariff order to ensure that you cannot arbitrarily increase what the tariffs on electricity. That's not going on. They've abandoned that role of government as a strong regulator. So those 3 things all work together. Devolve powers to the states, partner with the private sector, and ensure that government standardizes everything. Government is the regulator. So those are the 3 core things that Atiku Abubakar is going to bring into governance. And for me, I see nothing better than these things. And Edidiong, the most important, the happiest thing about it for me is that none of these things has Atiku Abubakar ever faltered on. These are things that he has been consistent in talking about over the years. Every time, as at September 2 years ago, when he was advising the federal government, that look, rather than borrowing and putting Nigeria into huge debts, why not invite the private sector and partner with them? But they didn't listen, and now we are where we are. So, for me, it is the consistency on devolution of powers, on private sector participation, and on the role of government as a strong regulator. Those are the things that will change Nigeria when he comes in.
Honorable Uloka just said on Zoom that he's not expecting much from the Southeast. What do you have to say about that?
You mean in terms of
The election, the upcoming election?
In terms of votes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm confident that the Southeast will have a stake in the next presidency or in the Atiku Abubakar presidency. The Southeast will make that stake known by electoral votes. I think what Honorable Iloka was trying to say was about the insecurity situation, like generally, you know, you have low voter turnout. We saw the Anambra elections. And recently, yesterday on social media, there were rumors that the IPOB is saying that, you know, they won't allow elections to hold, that there's going to be a sit-at-home for the period of the election. As a PDP member, I think we appeal to everyone to turn out and vote. I'm sure that if the turnout comes out heavily, I'm confident that PDP will do very well from the Southeast, and not just from the Southeast, but from every part of the country, because it's going to be a national mandate for Atiku Abubakar.
Before we go back to Honorable Eloka, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Demola. PDP is one party that has boasted of structure over the years and has been quite consistent with that. And we've also seen the power of the governors in electoral cycles. And so, you know, I'm about to talk about the G5 governors. We saw your candidate go to Benue State with a large number of supporters who in Makurdi, Boko, and Otupo, but the state governor was noticeably absent. The biggest opposition to the PDP has been Governor Wike and his G5, but notably Governor Wike. Do you think that has affected the PDP in the upcoming election, or will it affect the chances of Vice President Atiku Abubakar?
Well, to be fair, to be absolutely honest, I think at the beginning it was weighed. We saw that this could be a threat, and the PDP moved quickly to avert any way in which it might affect us. We've had a rally in Benue. In Benue, we pulled a massive crowd. We did not only Makurdi. I mean, it was the first time in this campaign cycle where we did almost like 3 simultaneous rallies, Makurdi, in Otupo, and then in Boko. And you had massive crowds turning out in all the places. In fact, in one of the locations, the governor had to be at the palace of the Ochidoma to welcome the presidential candidate, so that it won't look like, well, in my own place, you know, because he's also running to be a senator. I think for me, and with all due respect to the governors elected on the PDP platform, I think the G5 thing is a bit too magnified in the media space, because the truth is, yes, you might say that the governor himself is not with us, but even the governor rode on the platform of the party to become governor. It's some people who worked for him to emerge governor. And if you have those people who are also working for Atiku Abubakar to be president, then it's as good as one. In Rivers State, for example, we have Dr. Abiye Sekibo, who's the chairman of the PCC there. You have Senator Lee Maeba. You have Senator Abiye Sekibo. You know, you have all these stalwarts. Prince Uche Secondus, the former PDP national chairman. In Oyo State, I can also mention the same numbers. In Abia State, in Enugu State. As a matter of fact, you know, I am looking eagerly forward to the results from all those states, because it's going to confirm something that we've always known, and that is that PDP is a party of structures and not of persons. It's a party that believes very strongly
That's
in
a good
structures.
place to live. Let's bring Eloka in before we round up. Honorable Eloka, let's talk about the economy. We've seen what's happening with the Naira redesign. We've seen the position of different candidates. So the economy is going to be under scrutiny in the next presidency. What do you have to say, and what hopes should Nigeria have from the PDP if they win, regarding uplifting the economy, and your final words to Nigerians on why they should vote for your candidate?
Okay, first of all, I want to correct an impression from the lady on the studio. When I said we are not expecting much from the Southeast, it wasn't actually in terms of voting in the Southeast. What I was actually trying to say was that in terms of security, you know, in the Southeast, we are not expecting anybody to do anything now that is already, I think it's already late to start coming up with anything. And also, those are actually the areas I was saying that we are not expecting much in terms of the security situation. I don't think that there is anything that the ruling party can do now. So in terms of voting, the Southeast has always been voting the PDP since 1999. And we are not reneging on that. In fact, I think that the votes that we're going to give to PDP in the February 25 election, I think will be much more than we did in 2019 when our brother and the son from Anambra State and the Southeast was on the ballot. I think the Southeast today have all collapsed for the PDP and Atiku Abubakar. You know that by association of marriage, Atiku is somehow from Southeast because he's married from Anambra State. And he has kids who for us here are our brothers. And I think we are supporting the Atiku ticket because we know that we are part of the ticket. It's also a consolation for the Southeast, and it means a lot for the Southeast. So we are mobilizing our votes in much numbers that we can. On the issue of the Naira redesign, you know, the APC party has not made any policy that is human friendly. Have not made any policy that, you know, they have the interest of Nigerians at heart. All their policies has always gone south. All their policies has been more like people who reason from, you know, somewhere beyond their brain. And the only thing we're telling Nigerians is to endure. You know, it's just a matter of weeks we'll go into the election. And when we elect Atiku Abubakar as the president-elect, it's just a matter of months. We'll have a transition and a new government will come in power. I am giving Nigerians the assurance that I trust Atiku. We trust Atiku. We believe that he will deliver. He has consistently shown, you know, what he has in store for Nigerians. We believe that his first 100 days will impact on the nation positively, that things will start transforming. The new Nigeria we're talking about, we are no longer preaching about change. We've seen that the change in Nigeria, the LPC has messed it up. What we're trying to sell to Nigerians is about recovering our nation, recovering our fatherland, uniting the nation again, trying to ensure that there is peace in our diversity. This is what Atiku Abubakar is bringing on the table, and we are certain he will deliver on those things. You know, we are urging Nigerians to endure. There is none of the APC policies that have worked well with the citizens. None of their policies that have been friendly to us, but we have to endure. We are already at the final, you know, stage of the administration, and we all hope and pray that our votes will be protected and the eventual winner, which is going to be Atiku Abubakar, will be announced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Eloka and Demola Olarenwaju. It's always good to have you speak about your candidate and what you want for Nigeria. I believe the goal is about ensuring that we have a Nigeria that works. In Nigeria where people can work for their money and spend their money and have access to their money. And enjoy their money. However, it's extremely important that everyone plays their roles. Nigerians, you would only lose the election for your candidate if you assume they've already won and you don't turn out to vote. So no matter how long it takes, it's just 2 days in the year where you have to actually come out, give that time and vote. However, on our own part, we must hold INEC accountable. They have constantly convinced us that they are ready for the elections. We've had situations where elections have been moved at night or the morning of the elections. It's extremely important that INEC stands their ground and ensures that they conduct the election on the day which they have scheduled for it. Because Nigerians have taken time off work. Some people are traveling for these elections. All you need to do is conduct credible elections. That's the much we can take on today's episode of The Weekend Show. You can watch this episode on our YouTube page, Weekend Show NG. You can follow us on social media as Weekend Show NG on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow me on social media at Andy Madukan. You can follow Didi
at Didi_ on Instagram and Twitter.
That's all for now. Make sure you go out and vote on the 25th of February and 11th of March. Vote for your candidate and be tolerant. Not everyone will support your candidate. Doesn't mean you should go about insulting them, okay? Do have a blessed weekend and see you next week, Saturday.